Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Shouting into the Void, a weekly series where myself and Liam talk about Doctor Who. Well, hey, we've been doing this for well over a year, and we've been doing it for well over 3 seasons now. And almost 4 seasons. We are now officially over the halfway point for series 4 of Doctor Who. With David Tennant and Catherine Tate. I'll quickly add in here that both me and Liam are waiting for deliveries this evening.
Hence why I've only got one headphone in.
Yeah, so if there's an abrupt cut, you know why. One of us, Liam's waiting for food. I'm waiting for Agatha Christie books. And speaking of Agatha Christie books, this week's episode is
That's
Unicorn
why you
and The
ordered them
Wasp.
for a smooth segue.
It literally was. That was the only reason. But yes, this is Unicorn and the Wasp, the 7th episode in season 4. It sees Doctor and Donna Noble. I'm not sure what year it is, 1920s. I can't remember.
1926.
There you go. 1926 is where they arrive. They arrive to a nice little country manor where a nice little garden party is going on, and it all seems like it's a nice time until murder.
For a minute and a half.
Not even that, it's like 30 seconds, isn't it?
I don't know.
Oh god. Yes, there's a murder, and then there's another murder, and then there's another murder. They just keep piling on top of each other. And not everything is as it seems. There seems to be an alien element to it. Perhaps a wasp, not a unicorn, I'm afraid. Just a wasp this time.
They didn't have the budget for the unicorn.
No, that's just a nice. I guess they just wanted the nice name. Literally,
this is absolutely, they came up with the name first.
Yeah,
and then like, let's just go with it.
How do we put the unicorn in? We've got the wasp.
As we'll come on to.
Yeah, but we do have a crime to solve, a couple of crimes to solve, and of course it wouldn't be Doctor Who without the sci-fi twist, and the sci-fi twist is obviously it's an alien, it's a big wasp.
It's a big alien wasp.
literally what it is.
Bees disappearing.
No, wasps. No one cares about the wasps. They can go. It's the bees that are the important ones.
Yeah,
which is probably why
Everyone
they don't have
hates
any. They don't have any qualms about killing the wasp in this one. I mean, the Doctor kind of does ish. Maybe he has.
Just you wait.
Oh boy,
my fun facts.
But yes, what did you think of this episode?
I liked it. It's a fun one. It was kind of what I expected of it to be going in. It was always one I'd revisit quite a bit from this kind of era, so I think it's just a fun kind of little comforty watch, which has always been the case, and it was good that didn't change with this one. It wasn't a 4-2 situation, so that's good. But yeah, it's very silly, it's very campy, but that is what they're going for with it. I think the fact that it should probably lose a lot of rewatchability after you've watched it once, because the killer is. It doesn't really have that for me personally, so I think that's quite impressive that it does that. And it's just a bit of bonkers Doctor Who-y fun, because a giant wasp alien, a lot of shows just simply would not get away with that. Does it get away with it? I don't know. That's, I guess, a debate amongst the fandom. For me, I think it commits to it so much that sure, why not? I mean, there are a few things I'm like, but yeah, it's a different kind of thing. I like the murder mystery kind of twist on it with Agatha Christie getting involved. Most of that works for me, that kind of idea. It's a very unique spin for the episode to do, because it's not something Doctor Who can delve into that much. But yeah, it feels wrong to say it's a fun murder mystery episode, but it is a fun murder mystery episode, and I did enjoy it.
Yep, I'm basically the same. My main takeaway from this was I really enjoyed it. Probably more than I thought I would, but I think it's helped that I haven't rewatched it in a while. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I quite enjoyed it. I remembered who the villain is, obviously, who it ends up being, but that still doesn't take away from this. It gives you enough for the other characters to not think, oh, they might be the bad guys, but to be interested in what they were doing anyway. Which is useful. You don't want to have, just 7 characters and then 6 of them be boring and one interesting. Be like, wonder which one's the villain.
It's not Death in Paradise syndrome, where the most famous guest star is always the killer. Literally,
which I always love to do. I'm like, there. But I watched one episode of Death in Paradise, and it turned out it wasn't them. I was like, oh, what a twist!
They'd finally listened to the complaints.
Oh,
again.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. it's basically the Unquiet Dead, but Agatha Christie, which is
Yeah, they
fine.
even reference the Unquiet Dead.
Yeah, literally. But I think this one commits to how silly it is and sort of how on the nose and exaggerated everyone is,
Mm.
which
It's very
might not
suited
work.
to its place in the series, I think,
Yes,
because
yeah,
it's all depressing from here.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
even the
Basically,
end of this, when they're talking about like memories and being forgotten and stuff, I'm like, oh no,
oh,
oh no.
oh my God, it never hit home before.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I really enjoyed this one. I think it the what helps it is it fully commits to being what it is. It doesn't try
yeah,
to be serious at any point, um, which is helpful. I think that's what you want from an episode. You don't want to keep flip flopping between, really hard hitting scenes to, oh no, he's poisoned. Got to get some salt. You know,
yeah. You don't want it to be jarring.
yeah. But yes, let's get into our positives and negatives. As always, we have 3 of each, and as always, we start with the positives. So, what is your first one?
The poisoning scene,
Yes, same.
as I assumed it would be. Um, but yeah, I this is like one of the big highlights I think that most people would have when they think of this episode. It's either, oh yeah, that's the one with the giant wasp, or oh, it's the one with the doctor getting poisoned.
Yeah.
Because it's easily the highlight of the episode. It's easily the best scene. The physicality of not only David Tennant having to deal with that nonsense, but just everyone in that room being like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is going on here? And Catherine Tate having to kind of play along with it. I think they probably let them loose, like the scene in Partners in Crime. I imagine it was a similar kind of deal here. Although they would have done this first because Partners in Crime are filmed ages after this. But
Maybe they had
you know what I
that
mean?
scene and they
Similar
went, oh,
vibes.
let's add that in after we saw
Okay,
that. Yeah.
that works. And then you just have Agatha in the back, like, what the hell? Well, these two are insane. And yeah, it's just such a cool sequence. I like trying to like figure out alongside Donna what on earth the doctor means and what he's saying. Her getting things hilariously wrong and misinterpreting it wildly, sometimes getting it bang on. I like the salt is too salty. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's salt. What's that? Salt. Too
yeah.
salty. Too salty.
Oh, that's too salty. So good. But then Agatha's kind of getting involved and she helps out a bit. So I like that, it's not just a Doctor and Donna moment. But yeah, again, a very Doctor Who thing to do. Like, it's an alien, of course, they can try and survive like a cyanide poisoning, and they do it in very good fashion. And I really like, again, it's just committing to the scenes of it. It's absolutely mad and bonkers. But it fits in an episode that is doing this kind of thing. And it's a good kind of halfway through the episode, big like, oh dear moment. And if it had literally been anyone else who's getting poisoned, it would have been a very bleak turn because they'd be dead.
Yeah.
Imagine if Donna had just got poisoned and she just stopped there then. Oh dear. But yeah, I just love that whole sequence. It's so much fun. They really commit to getting it and being crazy with it. You really kind of feel part of the chaos as you're watching it. And yeah, very, very well done and easily the highlight of the episode.
Yep, I agree with literally everything you said. I also think that it really helps the pacing of the episode as well, because if you think of murder mysteries, a lot of it is just wandering around and be like, what happened here, and trying to figure it out, which doesn't necessarily always make for entertaining TV. So to have this kind of action sequence, I guess, in the middle will help at least keep you interested and keep you sort of like, on your toes and sort of not know what's coming next. And yeah, it's just a very fun scene. I think it's definitely sort of one of the best comedic moments of the series, I would say. Probably even the past four series as a whole, to be fair, is probably one of the highlights. And it helps that you've obviously got Catherine Tate, who's a pretty decent comedian in the first place. But again, it's everyone committing to the scene, everyone knowing how ridiculous it is and sort of going with it, which helps. If one person in that scene was sort of taking it too seriously, then it might not have worked very well. But I think the two lead actors just committing to the ridiculousness of, I need salt, but not salt, not actual salt, it's too salty. I think is just inspired. But yeah, it's great. So what is, in that case, what's your second positive?
Just the murder mystery element in general. Very different kind of framing for an episode. I already briefly talked about it already. But yeah, it's just, I like it when Doctor Who does like, oh, it's this kind of episode, they're doing this. And again, it's not really something they should probably repeat, because it's like, oh, well, like, you've kind of done this before. But yeah, I really enjoyed kind of the framing of it all. I mean, they're not shamelessly just being like, yeah, it's Cluedo, it's Agatha Christie, it's Cluedo. They're even about 30 references to Cluedo in this, as I will delve into later on. But yeah, I thought it's a different kind of thing for Doctor Episode to do. It breaks the norm a bit, especially at the halfway point in the season. You know, it's normally the mid-season slump, and they do like a very different kind of, it's the murder mystery episode, please watch it. Even if they kind of narrow it down to 2 suspects in the opening scene, but that's fine. And yeah, I really enjoyed something a bit different, because we've kind of had, you know, run of the mill stuff up till now, like decent sci-fi kind of things. Now they change it up with a very kind of comedic episode as well, which I like that they've refrained from doing so much, given that Catherine Tate is the companion. They've had like comedic moments, but not really like a full-on balmy bonkers episode. So they had to do it at some point, and I like that they placed it at this point, and getting Agatha Christie involved, doing a murder mystery with her. Again, something only Doctor Who can really properly do, and do very different wacky things with it as well at the same time. So yeah, I really enjoyed the framing of the episode.
Yeah, and again, that's why it's my second positives, because I completely agree.
We're going to be done in 10 minutes, folks.
I know, it's ridiculous. I think I also like Donna's placement in the mystery, where she's like trying to work it out. She's not up to speed with the Doctor and Agatha Christie, so she's like, he killed them, she killed them. Just everyone, that's what the audience are doing. Like, oh, they did it. At least, the first time you're like, oh, they did it. No, they did it, as they're explaining. Which is great. I like that as well. It does keep you guessing, I think, until that sort of scene where they're all around the table. Really, the intention is obviously if you've seen it before, you sort of know. But then if you've seen it before, you then know what to look out for. You know, you're like, oh, what was that guy doing in that scene? You know, and I think the fact that it's not just the one death as well, it's 3, I think, in total. I think also helps to keep the mystery going. So it's not just one and everyone's like, whoops, you know, better sort that one out and be gone, I guess, because there probably could have been an easy way out. But that Vesper form's just got to keep killing. So unlucky.
Won't stop.
But yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the sort of the genre, I think, of this episode. Although, you know, most Doctor Who episodes start with, or some start with, a mystery of, who's dead or who's in control. That's never normally, it's never carried on throughout the episode. You know, normally you find out, or the Doctor finds out what the problem is soonish, and then it goes on. Whereas this one's very much the mystery is the episode, and you get, you know, the ending is the reveal, and that's effectively it. Which is what most crime novels are, to be fair. You know, most after the villain, the murder is revealed, it's a case of 1 or 2 chapters sort of saying, and they all lived happily ever after, and then it's the end. So what is your final main positive?
The Doctor and Donna, their dynamic. Partners in crime. Or partners in solving crime in this instance, I suppose. Character development. But yeah, I really enjoyed them together a hell of a lot in this one. It's, again, we've talked about it before, like Doctor and Rose at their best for me was when they're like teaming up solving crime, like doing that kind of crime solving duo.
Idiot Stanton.
Even if it is even if it is an episode 7 like this one. After a 2-parter with a returning bad guy from the classic series. At least I think the villain's better in this one than Narayan, right?
100%.
But yeah, I think they're great together. I like them bouncing off each other like that. Even Donna just emerging in a new outfit at the start, and he's like, "Oh, you look lovely. Let's go." David Tennant, I'm David Tennant. That's not a very good David Tennant person, but you know what I mean.
It's dead on. I don't know about. It's like he's in the room.
I'm David Tennant. I've been David Tennant all this time.
He really is a good actor.
What was that you were saying about me? But yeah, I enjoyed their dynamic a lot, and them playing off each other, also going off doing their own things, and then coming back together when Donna's had her first encounter with the Vesper form. Like, look at this thing. And yeah, like you mentioned as well, one of my favorite moments is when Catherine, when Donna's trying to work it all out at the end. She's just so her character, I'm calling her Catherine now. And she's like, oh, so he killed them, she killed them, and she's just like stuffing her face while all this is going on. I love that moment.
Me? Who did I kill?
That was, so good. I just love that she just does not follow it, but she's also just trying her best to follow it anyway. She's like, okay, I've worked it out now. And the doctor's like, no, you're way off. But he's not like being, oh God, you're such an inconvenience not doing all this, because she's not Martha. So I think they're great together, as they often are. It is my favorite kind of dynamic between Ten and a companion, by a long shot. And I think the fact that they can do some really serious, grittier episodes like Planet Viewed and the emotions behind that, and their dynamic really works. But also you throw them into absolutely balmy scenarios like this, it also really works. And then bouncing off each other, the poisoning scene as well. It just showcases how well this dynamic works.
Yeah, that's fair. I do agree. I think, this is another episode that just shows why they're often a pretty popular Doctor and companion team. And probably why they're rumored to be returning to the show in the near future. So who knows what that will entail. But yeah, I agree that they are in this one, they're excellent and they are moving forwards. So I'm glad that we've got the time with them as a duo in this one, especially because moving forwards we kind of lose that a little bit. They're separated for a lot of the second half of the next two-part coming up, and then obviously there's 2 episodes where they are separate in their own stories, and then obviously with the finale you've got loads of other characters. So I like that we get this episode where we see the 2 of them traveling normally and there's no meddling. Even last week we had Martha along, and there was still that sort of intrusion into the duo. So it's nice that we get these moments with just the 2 of them together.
Just the 2 of us.
My final positive is the Vesper form.
Oh,
I awesome. Quite liked it. I thought it was just it's a wasp. I can't say it's a unique design. It's a wasp. But
it's a wasp.
Yeah, it is a unique design. It's one of them things where again, Russell and the show often do is they take something that's so normal and they just make it absolutely outlandish and be like, oh, hey, here's something usual. Now it's gonna kill you. And I'm like, oh. Normally it's not great, but I think it works very well in this. I think the CGI pretty much holds up most of the time, at least the CGI for its form when it's fully formed, not the transformation, which will come.
The transformation is shit. It's just a lazy effect anyway. But I think they just used up all the budget on the actual thing.
Yeah.
So purple mist. There you go.
I think it probably could have done with a little bit maybe more refinement in terms of it, rather than it just being like a mindless monster that just chases things or whatever. I think it could have done with a little bit more intelligence in its wasp form. But I quite liked it. I quite liked the twist that it was the priest and how he came about realizing that he was this alien. And yeah, I mean, it's not, you could bring it back, but it's a case of why would you need to bring this alien back? Have it in the background, maybe have it be part of something, but I don't think we need another Vesper form centric episode. So it's a good one-off villain as well, and it kind of fits with the narrative as well. It fits with the mystery, and it's again so outlandish and over the top that it fits with the tone of the episode as well, which is great. So well done to all involved. Have you got any other sort of on the edge positives?
On the edge of glory, we have Agatha Christie herself. I really enjoyed. She was great, and particularly her scene with Donna. Just before she finds the convenient cases convenient in the flower bed. And they're talking about, the times they've been scorned by men. And Donna's like, well, mine was with a giant spider. So I just like, Donna, taking the initiative to actively try and seek someone out to make them feel better, which is not the Donna we first met. So I like that there's a bit of growth there. It was very me when we first met Donna. So I like that, as Will says later on in the season, she's better with the Doctor. She does have good development and growth traveling with him, more empathy. I think the Youth episode is probably a big reason for that as well. But yeah, I like the idea of having this era in particular likes famous writers. Let's bring them in for an episode. We've had Charles Dickens, we had Shakespeare, and we have old Agatha here as well. So I thought it was a good choice to like have a historical figure show up and be Agatha Christie, and explore, you know, a lot of her disappearance, etc. Be it wildly inaccurately, but it's fine because it's just a silly episode.
It's sci-fi. It's fine. It's fiction.
Sci-fi. It's fine. It's okay to get things wrong. But yeah, I really enjoyed her featuring in this as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I think my sort of additional one is just the rest of the cast in general. I think they all commit to their roles pretty well. They all commit to how stereotypical and outlandish they can be. The general in particular is one of my favorites, where he just just remembering what he was doing in his study, and then he's like, he gets pulled out of one memory. He's like, I was in me study. It's like, oh no, come back again. Like, oh, and then when he was like, oh, you found me out, I could walk.
That's so good. And then you want that to just be positive on its own, be like the reveal of the good. I was going to say you're completely innocent.
I quite like
that down then. That was great. Yeah.
I quite like that. I think Felicity Jones was slightly underused, but you know, she's not a famous actor at that point. Doctor Who clearly has an issue of bringing in soon-to-be famous actors and wasting them. Looking at you, Andrew Garfield, in the Dalek two-parter. Wasted.
He is one of the best characters in that.
He is, but he's underused.
Yeah, well, they can bring him back. Well, they can't afford to bring him back now. But...
no, it's too late now. Maybe they can put him in comics, whether they have the likeness, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, and it's, as I sent to you when I was watching the episode, it's that classic Mitchell and Webb sketch where he's like, Felicity Jones just starts doing the Cockney accent.
All right, then.
It's like, I know I've got them when they do the evil voice. That's literally it, and it plays on the tropes.
As well. It's so funny.
Well, it's good, you know, that plays on the tropes that old mystery TV dramas and films did, that their voices would change when they were revealed to be the bad guys. And it's fine. Everyone leans into that. Everyone in the cast leans into it. It was, you know, it's a case of, you know, this could have been 11 Monsters where everyone's taking it too seriously. But nobody does, really. Everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. Everyone knows the tone they're going for. And I think it hits quite well, to be honest. And yeah, that's a big credit to a lot of the cast, which is great. Unfortunately, though, we do have to talk about some negatives for the episode because not every episode is perfect. So what is your first negative?
Yes. Speaking of Felicity Jones, not her per se, but the unicorn.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
No.
It's completely irrelevant. You can cut it out,
nothing happens now.
It's in there because they came up with the title Unicorn and The Wasp. And they're like, what can the unicorn be? And I'm sure that's what it was, because there's no relevance to it whatsoever. And you know, I was just like, well, I'd have liked maybe some backstory as to properly delving into why Professor Peach is like so bothered researching all this. I know he's like writing a book or whatever, but why is he writing the book? Why does he feel compelled to do that? Because he literally killed off 1 minute and 45 seconds into the episode. So, you know, there were other things I think they maybe could have explored on or had a bit more with Donna and Agatha or something. I don't know. Maybe making the other characters feel a bit more suspicious, something like that. But because it's like in the title of the episode, it's such a big deal. There's, you know, some separate like screen time spent kind of expanding on it with like the convenient boxes, convenient that she threw out the window, and the very odd flashback of her with the gun, which is just like, well, if she's not the murderer, then she must be dodgy anyway. She must be the unicorn. But yeah, it felt very strange, those moments, and they probably could have just, you know, used that on something else. Maybe actually spending a bit more time on the aftermath of the deaths. Maybe, I know it's, you know, it's not necessarily what they're going for, but maybe a bit more time. They have some nice moments where Donna's like, well, that poor guy can't even mourn, you know, this guy that he loved because it's the 1920s, blah, blah. You know, there's a few moments like that, like, you know, it's really good for Donna's character. But unfortunately, we had to do a pointless thief subplot as well.
Yeah. Yes, I do agree. It's not one of my negatives, but I do agree that it's just not really needed. I guess they just needed something to fill a little bit more
No,
of the
because the
time.
necklace that she's after is part of the Vesperform plot anyway. It's
Yeah.
more so about that, and it's very
Yeah.
strange that there's
Yeah.
literally no reason for this to happen.
Yeah, it would have been better if she'd maybe stole it and then the Vesper form was chasing after, and that's how they, something like that. But
Yeah,
she doesn't even steal it, so
no, she just gives it straight back when she's found
what's
out.
what's the point? But yes, that's fair enough. My first negative is sort of to do with how it's resolved, and how it
Mhm.
ties into Agatha went missing or whatever it was. That doesn't need to be there either. Just
Mhm.
don't connect it to that, because why is she connected to the Vesper form when the necklace goes into the lake?
Yeah, it's very weird because it was connected to her stories more than her. So it
Yeah,
was
because
weird.
it was I thought it was, if anything, it would be connected to Mrs. Edison or whatever it was, because she was the one
Well,
that
we never
was
see her
wearing
again.
it.
Maybe she did
No,
drop
oh
dead, and
yeah,
they're just like, oh,
maybe.
well, they don't talk about it, but they don't know that they don't then go
No,
back and see that she dropped
yeah,
dead.
that's it. They left her. Like maybe it could just be a case of the necklace attaches itself to whoever's carrying it, but there's no line to like make sense. But in that case, Donna should also be affected by it because she chucked it in the lake. So
Yeah.
I just don't. It just feels to me like they needed to shoehorn in an excuse what the reason was for her going missing and then turning up at whatever it was.
Yeah,
And
it's
they
the
were like,
Doctor who needs to like explain a real life mystery, isn't it?
yeah. And sometimes it works out quite well, but this one just felt a bit forced. And it was like, I would have maybe got it if, Agatha had always had the necklace and that's why the Vesper form
Yeah.
was doing this, because for whatever reason, maybe Agatha had found it recently and she put it on while writing the book and then it all came, whatever.
Mm. And
But
it is especially forced because, as fun facts will reveal, they got some key details extremely wrong. So it's like,
excellent.
why even bother then?
Yeah, so I think that's my only sort of major issue, is that they don't need Agatha just to like collapse and be like, oh, I'm, and then the Vesper form just lets her go as well. It's like, what? You've killed 3 people. Why is it just gonna not kill her as well?
That's my third negative is the
Yeah.
best form just lets her go for
Yeah,
reasons
there you go.
like that. This completely goes against everything you've set up with
Yeah.
that thing.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yes. So that's my first negative. So what is your second then?
Coincidences.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
old coincidences.
Mhm.
I know it's like a murder mystery, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, so Agatha gets upset, runs off, just so happens to go to the bench of many benches where there's the ruined flower bed with the unicorn stuff in it, which is an irrelevant plotline anyway. They have everyone in the same corridor when the Vesperform disappears.
I really
This
like
big
that.
ass
I really
house
like that scene though.
is a
It's
very good scene,
excellent.
but big ass house and people who would just live there full time as well.
Yeah.
Surely would have rooms elsewhere, but they're all in the same corridor. Even the guy in the wheelchair just feels like, what the hell? So there's that. The fact that they desperately want to cover up this scandalous secret about the secret child, but keep the birth certificate. Like, if you're going to keep it anywhere, keep it in the room that you've had locked for decades that no one goes into, so you definitely can't find it. But Peach is like, good, I've confirmed my theory. And then
yeah, or don't let
yeah,
people in the library. Like, don't let them have a look.
yeah, like, no, fuck off, you nosy
Yeah.
git. Go to a library elsewhere.
Get out of my
How
library.
dare you? You ain't from my party. I'm not my library. And then when the doctor like puts the pepper or whatever it was in the soup, and convenient lightning storm is convenient now, so people can't see what's going on. I know it's kind of very cliche stuff, but when it's like the literal plot and the fact that it is a plot is the plot, which is kind of plotception. It's just a few coincidences. I'm like, please.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough. I think for me, I can look over it because that's just a trope for murder mysteries. Again, it's that things just happen coincidentally. It's like,
if it was tropes that we know the Vesper form could actually control, then I think that would make more sense. Then it's just, well, they're tropes, so it's fine.
Yeah, maybe. I do really like the scene where it's like, show yourself, and they were like, come out like, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
I do like that. I think that is
and then
very, very clever.
Because Roger's like sticking out, and then like the guy's having the affair was like afterwards. Great.
I love it. But yeah, I do get that, and it can be solved by not including the diamond thief, especially because like at the end they're like, oh, and she just went back to London. It's like, Oh, okay. So they didn't even
She
catch
gets
her.
away with it
Yeah.
because we're British.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fair enough.
I mean, I can understand covering up the fact that she slept with a giant wasp and had a baby wasp,
Yeah.
but you know, it's an actual thief who's wanted and everyone's afraid
I
of.
was like, okay, bye.
By the way, it's her.
Yeah. Yes, very annoying. My sort of second negative is a ridiculous one, but the maid didn't need to die. She she, she saw the thing
But she
moving.
had to give the exposition, poor child, which she was dying.
But she just stood there and watched it.
She did just stand there. But I
Like,
guess is that another trope where they just like watch it fall on them?
maybe because it reminded me of the scene in Hot Fuzz where the spire falls on the guy's head.
Yes.
It reminds me of that. At least that one kind of works because he doesn't know what's going on and he can't move out the way. But the maid saw. She saw it. She could have just moved out the way
like,
or jumped.
This is it.
She's like, oh, never mind. And then
well, this is my fate.
And then I guess it hits her on the head, and there's no, that's it. Because there's no. I mean, it's a kids show, so they can't show obviously what would actually happen if a massive gargoyle fell on you.
Yeah,
but
there would be nothing left.
But I think it's still just. I've specifically put maid's death is silly because it's just like but fine, whatever. She doesn't need to die, and she
holds on to give the exposition line that she needs before she dies. So good on her.
It doesn't really help that much anyway. I'm pretty sure they would have found out without that line.
No, so it's quite incredible that they you must have been pregnant.
Yeah,
because you were locked up for 6 months.
Yeah, okay. yeah, exactly. That's not how pregnancy works.
Wait a minute.
But yeah, just unnecessary death. I think the other two deaths at least. The other two deaths at least.
Because all death is necessary.
I mean, the other two deaths are like, they make sense. They're like proper murders. They can't really run away or fight off a wasp. But you see this coming. It's like stepping out into the road and turning and watching the bus come around the corner and go as the bus comes at you. It's like,
you mean
move out of the way? yeah, literally.
But at least she wants to do that.
Yeah, and she jumped in at the last minute. This maid doesn't see the thing coming last minute. She sees it get wedged off and then fall down. So
all the way to the best form to kill her.
At least maybe have. Maybe I guess they want the POV shot of her going but at least maybe have it go maybe a shadow cross her face and go whoa, and then whatever. But
yeah,
it's just that if you have enough time to scream, you have enough time to run.
Yeah,
I think but that's an issue with Doctor Who. I think a lot of people just stand and scream at something and then get killed,
die. Yeah.
So never mind. So your third one was let the Vesper form letting her go, I guess.
Yeah. Just feels like, oh well, that's a nice happy ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it makes absolutely no sense.
No.
Over it's just it lets her go because Agatha Christie doesn't die. She just forgets things.
Yeah. Even though they're like, oh, it's in flux, she could die. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And it's like
commit. Yeah.
Don't contradict yourself in the same episode by episode 5. Doctor Who. But,
yeah.
And even then, it's just strange that the Vesper form's even connected to Agatha in the first place, like you were saying. And then he just, I'm drowning anyway. I'll just let it go. He chose to let someone live. I'm like, that's not a character.
I mean, just be like, I didn't have enough energy to kill her. It killed before it could kill.
Say it drowned before she died.
Yeah.
So it just wiped her memory or something instead. But okay, fine. Just sabotage the character.
Yeah, fair enough.
Of the giant wasp.
Those things.
Mine. What's to stop me killing you? Oh.
Speaking of the Vesper form, as mentioned earlier, I don't like the transformation, especially the one the first time he transforms in the church. It's very David Tennant getting old, where he's just like, it's like, oh, okay.
Purple lighting.
Oh my god, okay, sorry. When the dad wasp transforms, at least that kind of envelops him in gas and does the nice thing. And I do like how it transforms from the preacher to the Vesper form, and his arms are still as if he was stood, and then they unfold. I quite like that, but just the whole purple light, and then flailing about, it felt very Family of Blood, where they just speak into the green light, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
It's I get it, it's for budget reasons, fine, I get that, but maybe just don't have them transform on screen.
Yeah, I was going to say, leave it to the imagination, could have been
fun. You did that with Lazarus, so you can do it here.
It's true.
But yeah, I think that's a minor thing that I can overlook, because I get why it's been done, and it's fine. So have you got any other sort of negative points?
Well, I do. But I talked briefly about kind of like, it would have been nice to get some maybe backstory more on Professor Peach, if there'd been time, if they got rid of the completely irrelevant plotline. And like the glossed over deaths, but that's kind of the nature of the episode, really. Yeah. I do think the pre-credits sequence should have introduced everyone arriving, rather than just the two people who are then the only two people who know where Peach is, so he can be murdered.
I think it's implied that they're all already there, isn't it? I guess, because they've all got. Well, I mean, it is when they do all the flashbacks.
I'd assume so, but the audience doesn't meet them.
No.
So all we see is, and he's still only telling those two in particular, like, oh, I need to go to the library.
Yeah.
So that kind of does narrow it down very quickly. And then they have a scene like, well, we know the butler didn't do it. And then they still do a whole scene ruling out everyone else before they then reveal the guy. But again, you might not think of that when it's the first time watching it, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of exposition about how the Heartstones connect and everything. I didn't quite follow it. I think maybe a bit more clarity on exactly how that works, especially because they don't seem to know how it works with Agatha and everything.
Telepathy.
Yes, telepathy.
That good old go-to.
Yeah, and then the very last bit when they're like, onwards, and they're like sat leaning on the floor with the book, and then they're stood at the console, he pulls the lever, and they just stood there. Oh, okay. There's just a strange cuts there to like end of the episode. So yeah, a few little niggles, but nothing that I'm like, this episode.
You mean you didn't appreciate the Carrier Knight reference?
Yeah, look at these things. Yeah, I mean the scene's fine, but it just ends with terrible editing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also, they really gloss over the fact that this woman shagged a wasp.
Well, I mean, she shagged a human.
I loved him so much it didn't matter.
Really?
And I'm judging you.
A lot of arms. Quite hairy.
Oh God. Keep your stinger away from her, mate.
My sort
We can grow it back, so.
Oh, good job. No, thank you. My outer negative is during the first interrogation scene, that I know that the humor is, this is what they're saying, but this is what they actually did, and like that's fine, but if you're going to do that, then it would make sense to show what the priest actually did, because that's the only one they show him saying what he did. And I'm like, either do one or the. I know you can't show what he actually did because he killed him, but then you need to like keep that consistency. And I guess you could do the whole thing where, well, he's the priest, he's supposed to be the most innocent person there, so what he says will be the truth either way. But it still feels a bit like out of the blue. It's like it puts that doubt in your mind that he might be the one, because his is the only one that matches. Which I get, whether that's intentional or not, I don't know. But I do want to, as much as that sort of annoyed me a little bit, that they do use flashbacks the correct way in this episode.
They do.
Unlike in previous episodes where they're completely unnecessary. At least in this one, they are used to show the audience things that haven't happened or that they need to show, which is great. And I saw a video today, the way they do the flashbacks with the wavy thing, if you pause on the wavy thing, you get some amazing funny faces. As you would, but they're excellent. They're definitely worth googling if you get the chance. In which case, it's fun fact time.
It is indeed.
What ones have you got?
God, there's so many.
Oh boy.
Right. So, in terms of principal photography, this was the second story shot for series 4 following the Sontaran two-parter. So very early on. And they actually filmed like the early episodes quite late. So that's an interesting twist for series 4. Who don't normally do that. A different opening and ending for the episode featuring an older Agatha Christie were filmed but removed from the final cut. The opening saw Christie having dreams about the episode's events 50 years prior, and the ending featured the Doctor and Donna visiting an elderly Christie where she's given the book and begins to remember, and you can see all those on the Series 4 box set, the deleted scenes. So yeah, bizarre, but they decided to go against that and rewrote the ending. So it's the Doctor and Donna in the TARDIS with the book instead of just giving it to her. So why not? This episode makes a few deviations from the actual events of Christie's disappearance. Her car was actually found by a quarry, not a lake. It was 11 days later that she was seen at the hotel, and she didn't just walk through the front door. She was actually spotted already in there, dancing in the ballroom by a musician who recognized her. And it's the Hydropathic Hotel, not just the Harrogate Hotel, but that's just easier for the storytelling, like the Harrogate Hotel in Harrogate. So a few little bizarre changes there. And again, we didn't really need to connect it to that. So it feels weird that they then did it and changed it so much anyway. But I mean, you film in Cardiff, there's quarries everywhere. You always use quarries. The one time you actually need a quarry, you like
maybe they don't want to use a quarry as a quarry just because then it gives away the game.
Well, they needed to drown the best performance. That's probably why it was.
Oh yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, because it can fly. It's not exactly going to fall off the quarry.
Just trick it into like smashing and splatting into the side of a quarry.
That won't work.
Most of the characters in the episode are Cluedo characters, or at least spoofs of them. Mrs. Edison is Mrs. Peacock. Robina Redmond is Miss Scarlet. Colonel Kerbishley, or Mr. Edison, if you prefer, is Colonel Mustard. Professor Peach is Professor Plum and takes on the name from Miss Peach, who's a character they added in later editions. So that's where Peach came from. No. Miss Sandra Carla is Miss White, and Reverend Golightly is Reverend Green. And the Cluedo references don't end there, my friends.
Oh boy.
As the original 5 murder weapons in the original Cluedo make an appearance in the episode, lead pipe is used to kill Professor Peach. The revolver when the unicorn's in the bathroom in that very bizarre flashback. Knife used to kill Roger. Candlestick, obviously in the dining room, we light it to start off that scene. And a length of rope / a curtain cord is used to open the curtains. Obviously, that's what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And poison, which is a later addition to the game, is also used on the Doctor. Oh. So there you go. They had to get all the weapons in there.
Nice.
David Tennant's father, Sandy McDonald, cameos as a footman serving drinks at the party at the start. He was visiting David on set and was offered the part very last minute. And he noted he was glad he didn't have to learn any lines. Very wholesome. Rest in peace, sir.
Oh.
Robina Redmond, the part, was originally offered to Georgia Moffat, who decided to instead play Jenny in The Doctor's Daughter. Probably a smart move. Graham Harper, the director, his directorial signature of a main character appearing distorted once again features in this episode with Donna looking through her magnifying glass. This is in all his Doctor episodes, going as far back as the Caves of Androzani. So there you go. The ending of this episode was significantly rewritten.
Oh boy.
Originally, the Doctor rammed the best performer into the lake with the car he'd commandeered. David Tennant objected to this as he was concerned the ending portrayed the Doctor as a murderer, because that's never happened.
No,
before.
he's definitely not
Clone Martha, literally like 3 episodes ago. So I just love the image of the Doctor yeeting the best performer into the lake with the car. I think it's absolutely hilarious, and I wish that had been the ending. But instead, Donna murdered it, so it's fine.
It's fine if the companion does it.
Yes. Rusty Davies entertained himself during rewrites of this episode by inserting as many references to Agatha Christie novels as he could, with around 24 references featuring in the final episode, whether directly or indirectly. So basically, every other line that someone says is like a reference to a novel, even if it just seems like it's a normal line. So that's quite fun if you're a Christie nerd, I suppose. So there you go. Donna becomes the 8th character and the 6th companion to kiss the Doctor, though this is the first to not be a romantic gesture. So well done, Donna.
Well, I mean, the Doctor kisses Martha in a non-romantic way.
Yeah, but it's romantic on her side. It's not like
I guess
that was nothing. Poor Martha. The anchovies the Doctor consumes to fight off the poison were actually mushrooms, so I can see why he really sobbed the disgust as he had to eat those, because mushrooms are gross.
I think
I hear no other criticism. No, we disagree on that.
Garlic bread.
The one thing we adamantly disagree with in this Doctor Who series is mushrooms.
Yep.
Agatha Christie's grandson was present for script readings and rehearsals, which is quite funny. I guess they had a nice expert there.
Did get the details right there.
No, he'd probably like seething at that.
Yeah.
Too late, sorry. The casting of Fenella Walger as Agatha Christie was made at the suggestion of David Tennant, who had worked with her twice before. So doing a solid, giving his mate some jobs. Initially, Russell T Davies had wanted to set this story in the mid-60s with an older Agatha Christie portrayed like a Miss Marple kind of figure. But he found the relatively modern setting would not convey the feel of a classic Christie novel that they wanted to evoke in the episode. So the writer, who I will not name, rewrote aspects of that and changed that idea. The role of Lady Edison was offered to Dame Helen Mirren. She declined. She's above it. Fine. She played the Queen. Fine, whatever. She should have played the Queen in Voyage of the Damned. But
could you imagine?
I'm not a casting director. And then finally, we have two hilarious rumors that were going around at the time. Due to Billie Piper being spotted on set around the time this story was filmed, it was speculated online that the unicorn was in fact going to be revealed to be Rose. This was not the case. Doctor Who fans are stupid.
Everything is like, that's not even like, the unicorn doesn't make sense. At least like with Flux and Outpost Rose, you know, at least that has because it's Rose, but the unicorn has
isn't it?
Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing there.
And then finally, fans also believed that the Lady Cassandra was going to return in this episode, mistaking actress Felicity Kendall, who plays Lady Edison, for Zoe Wanamaker in the trailer.
Oh, imagine. That would have been great. They should have just done it.
They should have done it. That would have been a twist. Cassandra's in the 1920s now.
Amazing. Due a comeback. Let's bring her back. Come on.
Yeah. It's been far too long. It's been 2 whole years. Let's bring her back.
Oh, God. Lovely fun facts.
So there you go.
Fun facts for a fun episode.
I will have dreams of the Vesper form being yeeted into the lake by a car.
Yeah,
and that is my canonical ending to the episode now.
my only disappointment is the car the Doctor drives wasn't yellow, which I thought would have been a nice little nod, which I'm surprised they didn't go for. But I think it's the same, if not similar, make of car, so maybe that was as good as it could get. But that would have been nice. But
I actually think the actual prop went missing, so it would have been fun if they just got the prop.
Yeah, maybe. Well, because you know it was in the Doctor Who exhibition at least, or at some point.
Yeah, replica of it. Yeah, bring back Bessie.
Bring back the Doctor Who experience.
When I'm showrunner, I will bring back Bessie. Bessie will be just a companion.
That's it. Yeah, he just drives around. But the TARDIS is Bessie. That's what it takes a form as. That's fine.
You're absolutely right. Bessie when the TARDIS was broken. Maybe he merged them when he was like, "Well, TARDIS is fixed now. Get in there, Bessie."
Just drove the car into the TARDIS.
Yeah, it just lives there.
Do it with a motorbike. You could do it with the car.
It's true.
Maybe.
I mean, a motorbike can't at least fit in there, I suppose. But
it's fine. They'd make something up. You know, they'd be like, yeah, it's fine. We'll allow it. River Song dove into a swimming pool, so it's fine. Anything can happen.
That's true.
Wow. Actually, before we speak of River Song, what are you rating the episode?
Oh yeah. I will give it a 7.5, I think.
Interesting. I'm giving it a 7.
So we like swapped round from Doctor's Daughter. That's quite awesome.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. I thought it was quite fun. Yeah, but I think the thing that sort of brings it down is I think it's just a case of it's not high quality fun. If you know what I mean. You know, it's just a
better time with others.
It's a fun mystery episode that you can enjoy, but it's not a fun episode that I'm gonna want to go back and rewatch every year. I can do without seeing this one again for another couple of years. Not because I didn't like it, but just because there are better episodes, like better, more casual episodes that I would go back and watch before this one.
Yes,
but never mind. Like Love and Monster. No, I'm joking. But yes, as I mentioned, River Song. She's here finally next week. Silence of the Library.
Silence in the Library.
In the Library. There you go.
Forest of the Dead.
There we go. Silence in the Library. Forest of the Dead is the next.
I'd rather there not be a forest in the dead. That'd be gross.
You never know. One day.
Series 14.
Yeah. Yes, we're on to already. It seems like we only just came off a 2-parter, but we're back into another 2-parter. Stephen Moffat led 2-parter. The first of which is the Silence in the Library, which sees Doctor and Donna on the planet scale library that contains every single book ever.
Including all the novels of Agatha Christie, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. And there seems to be something wrong. There's no one there. Why is there no one there? What's going on? And then this team of I think they're archaeologists, aren't they, or are they just a project team at this point?
Archaeologists. Yeah.
They arrive saying they're here to check out the problem, I guess. Amongst them is the mysterious River Song, who seems to know a lot about the Doctor, but we don't know anything about her, at least at this point.
He's like new phone, who dis?
Literally. But yeah, what do you think, or what do you remember at least of this first part, and what are you kind of hoping for, I guess?
I remember being creeped out because Dashton Ramada's scary.
Yes, it's a very spooky villain.
It's a spooky kind of episode, yeah. So we have like quite literal scares, I think, in this next two, and then we have psychological horror in Midnight to Come. So we're in for quite a horrible 3 weeks.
And then we have
Turn Left, so we have some
horrors.
Yeah, mental horrors, Holocaust references, all sorts.
Yeah.
And then Everyone Ever is back in the finale.
Yeah.
David Tennant regenerates, but
really.
And Donna doesn't remember any of this. It doesn't matter. What is even the point? But yeah, I really like this two-parter. It's a good one. And yeah, I think I particularly like the first half as well, because I do find like the whole fake Donna world a bit like, oh yeah, can we get to the good stuff, please? But yeah, I remember really liking it. It's a very solid introduction to River, I think. And I really like the whole crew actually that she's with. I think they're pretty well fleshed out characters. Ironic because they always it's a very cool kind of one-off villain we get introduced to as well. Some great kind of moments in there, like the first real proper foreshadowing, I think, of Donna's fate as well in the next one, because River doesn't know who Donna is, so we're like, oh shit, oh dear, goodbye Donna. And yeah, I'm looking forward to revisiting it, because it's not one I've seen in a long time, so hopefully it still holds up. I know a lot of people rant and rave about this as like their favorite Moffat story of like the RTD era. I don't know if it's mine. I think that would still be Blink for me, but I'm looking forward to revisiting it with a fresh pair of eyes and see what I make of it this time.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this one as well. I remember liking it back then. I think it's going to be interesting to see how River has aged, I think, now that we've had basically her whole story told to us on the show. So I'm going to be very interested to see if that plays into how the character is for me. Because, there's the whole cliche of she's probably a bit overused at this point, or at least she was by we got to Capaldi's, which I think is fair to some extent, especially because
the one Capaldi episode she was in.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't help that they had all the big Finish stuff with her as well, which kind of contradicts what is said in the fact that this is the youngest.
She's met like every Doctor.
Yeah, she's seen. Yeah, so I think it's going to be. It's I'm not going to hold it against the episode because they don't know what the future's going to hold for the character or what's going to be done. But I want to see if it adds that extra layer. I'm interested to see if the spooks hold up. I remember, when as a kid it used to be quite creepy. They used to do cut-out masks in the Doctor Who magazines. We would put them on and then chase each other around the playground with, which was great fun. And this and the gas mask child were the ones that would always get worn and you'd be chased by.
Yeah,
because they are the creepiest, and they're both Stephen Moffat creations. Along with the Weeping Angel, also quite creepy.
Sicko.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, it is strange that all of Moffat's episodes have been quite creepy. And I think this two-parter won't be any different. I think it's got
time to make shadows scary, kids.
Yep. It's quite dark at times, I think, as well, especially with sort of how they treat one member of the team. I'm gonna see how that sort of plays up now.
Ice cream.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. I think, it feels like we've only just come out of two parts, so it feels strange to go into another two-part already. But that is what the show's been doing for the past 3 years, 3 seasons. So shouldn't be a surprise.
Gaps,
but I think it hasn't helped that obviously we had Martha last week. So it kind of felt like that two-parter only ended last week rather than now.
Yeah.
But it's fine. But either way, the fun stops here. It's all depression and death from here on.
It's depression until 11 probably.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Is Planet of the Dead funny? I can't remember. I've only watched that once.
I think there are funny elements for like
Lee
Evans.
What's his face? Lee Evans, that's it. I just remembered him. I love you.
but people still die. So
Yeah, but
you know,
stingless. So.
I think Planet of the Dead is probably the happiest episode we're gonna get until we get to Matt Smith.
Yeah,
because
which says something about how depressing all this is.
I mean, this series finale is quite fun and quite entertaining, but obviously how it ends is quite sad. The Christmas special is quite sad in the fact that the man was driven to insanity and fake memories because his wife was killed and his child was taken. It's like,
child slaves. Not ideal.
So yeah, that's quite terrifying. Planet of the Dead, I guess, is just fine. And then obviously Waters of Mars is terrifying. And then we get to the end of time, which is both in itself, entertaining and fun, similar to the season finale, but also quite sad because it's David Tennant's leaving. So strange to think that we're almost there. But beforehand, we're going to be really put through the mill in terms of emotions. But it's fine, they're entertaining episodes. Hopefully we like all of them as much as we think we do. Hopefully I like this next part as much as I remember liking it. But as we have seen before in our previous episodes, that can all change. Liam, for more so than
normally to me.
Yes, unfortunately.
I just want it to be the other way around. Like, I want more Doctor's daughters than anything else.
You might have that with End of Time maybe and that kind of thing, because I know it's not necessarily your favorite, so it might, you never know, you might be watching like, oh, this is great, because I love it. But
you do, yes.
But again, I could have a similar experience where we watch and I'm like, oh. But who knows?
We'll get there.
It's all to come. Oh, not even that. It's a few weeks at this point, a couple of months, maybe.
I mean, there's still like 6 episodes of the season left.
Oh, I suppose. Maybe. We'll be there
by like 3 or so months.
Maybe. I don't know if we'll get there before actual new Doctor Who comes out or not.
We might be able to do Planet of the Dead in time for Easter, which is when it airs.
Yay! That would be nice. Which will then also mean new Doctor Who, hopefully, around Easter as well.
Yes.
Crossed. Maybe
even an announcement. We might know the next Doctor by then.
That's true.
I mean, we already know it's David Tennant, but
that's true. About. It is David Tennant, and Catherine Tate's returning as well as Donna Noble.
Catherine Tate's playing the Doctor.
As 14. Well, that's another rumor. Was like Catherine Tate's returning, but not as Donna. I'm like, what? Never mind.
They're just going to be in the 60s specials, guys. Can't they?
Yes, yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. We've still got plenty more Doctor Who to come, and there's plenty more Doctor Who to come on this channel. At the very least,
we ain't done yet.
Yeah, at the very least,
we're not even halfway there.
Oh,
we're nowhere near halfway there.
We've only done 2 Doctors out of 5.
In 13 seasons.
It's fine. We enjoy the show.
I suppose we've technically covered Flux.
Yeah. I mean, but by the time we get to Flux again, that'll be 2 years from now, and we're gonna have to
we'll have to
anyway. So,
and we didn't do episode 5, I don't think, anyway. So
no, that's true. But yes,
it's fine.
That's it for this week. We will be back next week with more Doctor Who. So we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.